How's it going, guys? Finally back with another video. Sorry it's been so long. I know it's been like a month since I've last uploaded, but just been super busy with work and life and stuff. So yeah, enough with making excuses. I just recently watched a couple videos. First one was from Metal Mickey, my top 10 albums of 1989. And then I saw the Farley made a response video, so I'm like, why not just keep this thread going? Kind of thought about albums from '89, and after seeing theirs, I'm like, that was a really good year for metal and music in general. Even though I was only a year old at the time, a lot of my favorite albums came out that year, and it was actually really hard to narrow it down to 10. And but like Metal Mickey said, narrowing it down just really shows which albums are special to you. Yeah, sure, we could name 40 albums and just spew them off from that year, but these are the ones that are really important specifically to us. So and then spoiler alert, it was really hard to leave out certain albums by certain bands like Testament, Overkill, among some other ones that I excluded from this list. But with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and start off with number 10. This is Excel with Split Image, and this is their debut album, Venice crossover, and just really good stuff. Very underrated band in general, in my opinion. To me, they didn't really get the recognition that they should have in that scene. Obviously, bands like Suicidal Tendencies went a lot further with their career. Part of it obviously is with Excel. They didn't make very many albums, but this one is just a near perfect masterpiece in my opinion. I love Excel because they're more thrash metal oriented than punk. I mean, they still have a punk sound, don't get me wrong, but very thrashy, very catchy but aggressive at the same time. And I dig the vocal style. I think that might be the only thing that might put some people off, but I really like it. Whole album from back to front, but some of my favorite songs would probably be Spare the Pain, the last track on this album. It's probably my favorite song, and Social Security, title track, Split Image, Your Life, My Life, just good stuff, man. Gotta check this one out if you haven't heard it for some reason. Alright, so number 9, this is going to be Exodus with Fabulous Disaster, and classic album right here. I don't think I need to talk too much about it. I think this would be a perfect album if it didn't have 2 cover songs on it. I could really do without the Lowrider cover. The overdose cover is pretty sweet, but yeah, besides that, just a freaking killer album, man. Love this one. And number 8, it's going to be another classic. This is Sodom with Agent Orange, and probably the album that really got me into Sodom back in the day. I used to cover Remember the Fallen with my first band, actually. That was pretty cool. Yeah, just a classic album. I love the artwork on this, and yeah, this is the Digipack version. Pretty cool. Not a huge fan of digipacks because when the prongs break you're kind of screwed, but it's a pretty cool layout though. So yeah, Sodom with Agent Orange. And then number 7, this is the only one I'm going to show on vinyl just because I don't have a CD version of it. Everything else I got out on CD just because it's a lot easier to pull those out. This one is the exception, however. This is The Offspring, their self-titled debut from 1989, and this is the reissue. It came out a couple years ago. If you guys have seen the original pressing of this, the artwork's completely different, that's one of my grails. Yeah, that thing goes for like 150 to 200 bucks easily all day though. And one other reason is because this version omits the song Kill the President, which is usually the last track on the album. Or maybe it's the second last track, I don't know. It's kind of annoying how they left that out though. But anyways, Yeah, I mean, if you guys like The Offspring, this is just them at their most raw and their most like punk rock, you know, just you can definitely hear where their sound was going. Lots of, you know, tendencies leaning towards Ignition, and yeah, just a great album. I love this one. I love The Offspring, one of my all-time favorite bands. Alright, so that was number 7. This is number 6. This is Nuclear Assault with Handle with Care. Just another classic. One of my favorite Nuclear Assault albums. And yeah, this is actually the one that Farley had sent me a while back. So thanks again, Farley, man. I'm super stoked to have this on CD. Yeah, just classic. I love the drum performance, especially on this. It's just so freaking killer. That's all I can really say. Alright, so moving on, we're down to the top 5 albums. So number 5, just classic after classic, Obituary with Slowly Rot. Obituary's debut album, and one of the greatest death metal albums still to this day. Maybe I probably don't like this as much as Cause of Death, of course, but I really like this album a lot. I still like the leads on this. Alan West is a phenomenal lead guitar player, and yeah, John Tardy's vocals are just out of this world. So yeah, I could imagine just hearing this for the first time when it came out in '89. Alright, number 4, moving on to some more death metal. Got Death with Spiritual Healing. How could I leave this one out? Just one of the greatest death metal albums again. Freaking got James Murphy ripping leads on this album. Just, it's amazing. This is actually another digipack. It's like a, I don't know, 3-disc version. It's the Relapse reissue. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Really like the drumming on this album too. Very, very thrashy. Just really fast, and yeah, I always say this is Death's most pissed off album. That's how I feel about it. It's or you know, Chuck Pro is probably the most pissed off on this one, but yeah, excellent stuff. Don't need to say much about that one either. Alright, moving on. Number 3, got another death metal album once again. Couldn't leave this one out. Morbid Angel with Altars of Madness. This is one of my top favorite death metal albums of all time, man. I remember the day I bought this, I was so excited to get this. I actually got this at Best Buy just a long time ago when they still sold CDs and stuff, but man, I was happy to get this. This is an earache reissue. Comes with a DVD as well. I watched the DVD a million times too. It's got a live performance on it. Really awesome. Just classic. Don't need to say much about this. Pete Sandoval is a beast on the drums. Alright, number 2. This one's going to be my favorite Christian thrash metal album of all time. This is Believer with Extraction from Mortality, and man, this is such an awesome album, so underrated. If you guys like aggressive thrash metal, in the vein of like, you know, Sepultura, Creator, and Slayer, then you would love Believer. The vocals on this are just amazing. I know they get a little more recognition for their next album, Sanity Obscure, which is really, really good too. I just like this one a little more. I like his vocal performance especially. Just it's a little more raw and aggressive. Just from front to back, this is a perfect album. Yeah, this was one of my grails that I had picked up on vinyl too. And yeah, go listen to this album, Extraction from Mortality. Alright, number 1. Okay, I cheated because number 1's a tie, so I actually have 2 albums here. But it was hard enough, like I said, to narrow this down. All these albums mean a lot to me. And first one I got here is Creator with Extreme Aggression. Just, man, this is the album that really, really got me into Creator. And I remember when I first got this album that I would listen to it multiple times in a day for months straight. Like, I could not stop listening to this album. It's so freaking good. And still to this day, I just, it's perfect from front to back. It's a perfect blend of aggression and melody and rawness, you know. And yeah, it's just an overall perfect album. So don't think I need to say much more about this one. And then my other number one pick is Sepultura with Beneath the Remains. And man, what can I really say about this album? It's such a perfect thrash metal album. I mean, this is like the pinnacle of thrash in my opinion. To me, it's like is aggressive that thrash can go, and you know, or should go, or whatever. And it's just a Sepultura. They play with such, you know, speed and aggression, but with such precision. You know, this is not, you know, there's no studio tricks and stuff. It's not a modern thrash album, but to hear how tight they played on this album with, you know, oh my god, just the drum tracks, the rhythm guitar is just so tight. It's like pretty much, you know, the only other albums that come to mind like that are like Injustice for All, as far as like tight rhythm guitars and drums and stuff. And but this is obviously more raw, and that's what I like about this album. And yeah, enough said. This is just a perfect album. All right, so yeah, those are my top 10 from '89. I think we should keep this thread going, so I'd like to see some more videos, and I think we should do some other years too, you know. So there's lots, especially from the '80s, early '90s era. I think it'd be cool to kind of, you know, do a video for every year or whatever. So yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'm gonna try to be a little more active on here. But with that being said, till next time, take care guys.